Hey folks, so this is part 2 of the how to write an article or how to write a rough draft for an article video. Basically what we're going to cover in this is that it's time for you to start writing. We created a skeleton last video, we left some blanks and then filled them in. Now we're going to fill in and put some meat on the bones of that article skeleton, create something real. We're going to work through a paragraph together, and then I'm going to just trust that from that you understand the concepts behind it. And most importantly, we're going to make sure that when we fill in those details, we are being very specific about the details that we are putting in there. We're choosing things that are going to help us, and we're going to be totally willing to just throw out a chunk of writing, because if it isn't working, it's not worth keeping. So this is where we left off last time. I'm going to zoom in a little bit for you so that it's a little bit more visible. So we created an introduction, we used the teach, preach, reach model, and then we came to create our conclusions. We didn't do this in order, we left a lot of blanks and then worked through it along the way. That's just how writing works. That's just how it be sometimes. Alright, I'm moving this to its own page. So when we have a really nice model like this, and we've got a bunch of different sections to our article's skeleton. I call it a skeleton just because these are sort of like the bones. We're going to fill in the deets, and filling in the deets is where we put the content onto these bones, the meat onto these bones. So for an overview of languages in Canada, for example, I might start by writing a sentence that says Canada has 2 official national languages. French and English. Now, why is the topic worth looking at? These are the languages of that invaded the continent during the European. So I'll say that these are the languages of the countries that invaded the continent during the period of European colonization. But now, in 2018, that's the year that I'm writing this, it is worthwhile reconsidering what a national language in Canada looks like, or should look like. So this is me hinting at why the topic is worth looking at. Let's give it one more sort of nudge in that direction. I can see here that I'm going to speak about the top 5 languages that are spoken in Canada. So let's say the state of I'm just gonna put a TK here so that I can leave a little note for me, and it's just fill this in. The reason I use TK is because there aren't any words that have T and K beside each other, so if I press Control F and I search for TK, I can find it in my document. That's a tool for me. It might be useful for you too if you do that. So I don't know what that sentence is going to be, but I know that it's going to lead into my call to action, and my call to action is going to be Canadians need to push for a change in our national languages in the legislation, the law, of national languages, so that our legal system better reflects the population. I am pulling that idea straight from right here and right here. I'm referencing the things that I'm talking about through here in my introduction. Why am I doing that? Because that's the point of a good introduction. So, Canada has two official languages, French and English. These are the languages of the countries that invaded the continent during the period of European colonization. But now, in 2018, it's worthwhile reconsidering what a national language in Canada should look like. Let's talk about this. Languages other than French and English existed in Canada before colonization and continue to exist today. Languages from outside of Europe are also on the rise in Canadian households knowing this, Canadians need to push for a change. So, my introduction is now. Canada has two official languages, French and English. These are the languages of the countries that invaded the continent during the period of European colonization. But now, in 2018, it is worthwhile reconsidering what a national language in Canada should look like. Languages other than French and English existed in Canada before colonization and continue to exist today. Languages from outside of Europe are also on the rise in Canadian households. Knowing this, Canadians need to push for a change in the legislation of national languages so that our legal system better reflects the population. Boom! That's an introduction statement. It tells people what they're going to read about, it tells people what your opinion is, or my opinion, because I'm the person writing it. It tells people what I want their opinion to be, and it has that important note. I'm trying to persuade speakers of Canadian national languages, French and English, that we need to start looking at our much more diverse population than the population was in 1867 when Canada became an official country, and also start focusing on like repairing indigenous languages. So, am I doing that? Well, I'm definitely telling them that we need to push for a change. I'm telling them like, yeah, we need to push for that change. That makes sense in terms of my context because it's going to be on a petition website. This is how you got to do it. You gotta sign this petition, make that change. This is a little article. It's a like news blurb for them. It's my argument. And who's most likely going to be seeing that? Well, it's going to be the movers and shakers of like Canadian politics, 25 to 65-year-olds. Old people vote, young people don't. Sorry, if you don't like it, I guess vote when you're 18. It's literally one of the easiest things you can do. So this is now a paragraph. I wrote that in a couple minutes. I'm also pretty trained at writing paragraphs, but I can expect that you can take a piece of a skeleton and put it together. Now let's go over here one more time. If I wanted to rewrite this one, I would look at, I would say that we have a moral obligation to protect dying languages, so I'd be referencing the legislation of national languages. I'd probably say like we need to create a law that talks about revitalizing languages that are going extinct or that have been brought to the brink of extinction. And then I would talk about like, hey, we need to rewrite national languages, the National Languages Act, and do some boring stuff about that. I mean, not boring for me. This is my bread and butter. I live for this. And then for reconciliation, I'd literally go through here and I'd look at the idea of language death, the root causes of it, and I would pull out my favorite sentence. So let's say I like this sentence. Languages are dying in Canada's Aboriginal communities at an alarming rate. As of 1996, only 3 out of Canada's roughly 50 Aboriginal languages had enough speakers to be considered secure. So I'll just straight up copy, bring that into my rough draft. Now I don't know how I'm going to fit that into this yet, so I'll just paste it like this. I don't want it to be pasted like that. I want it to be normal. There. So I've just got this here, and then I'm going to put in brackets because that's the easiest way to let me know that it's something that you've taken from another source. I'm going to put in brackets this name. Notice how I'm just copying out this name. Boom. Thank you, Konstantin Prodanovich. So I put their name in brackets, and I will also put the title of their article in there, just so that I can find it again. So I'm copying that, pasting it, I'll put the title of their thing in this, and then so that I can say, look, this isn't stolen, I can say, look, yeah, it comes from Konstantin Prodanovich, and it's called this. So you can Google that using that alone. If you want to be extra secure about it, create a new page, call it references, and nope, don't do that. Copy, paste. Give me the name of the person, the name of the article that you're taking it from, let's put a little period there, and then the link to it. Copy, paste. And now I know that you aren't a thief. So when I look through this and say, hey, can they cite sources? Can they actually do this? Can you cite a source? Yeah, you can. And you've just shown me by creating a reference page. Alright. That about does it for today. I hope that was useful. I hope that you saw that it's just a matter of filling in those deets and making sure to go back to the blanks that you leave. But don't let yourself get stuck on a sentence, because that is killer. Alright, so now it's time for you to start writing. Peace out.